Hey guys, welcome back to Altaz-Review, where we talk about the latest big reveals. With Summerfest here, all the upcoming games and updates are getting new trailers and gameplay footage, so we can all get a better idea of what the next few games in the coming months are gonna look like. There's a lot of exciting news, and there's also a ton of disappointments. So let's just start picking apart the details. Let's get right into it. Let's start with the big announcements. We just got some straight up gameplay for Silent Hill 2 Remake. More specifically, a combat trailer. And combat in Silent Hill isn't really supposed to be a big wow factor, it's usually just the bare minimum. And the camera and aim controls are supposed to be bad enough to make combat scary. The issue with this trailer though is that it looks as combat focused as Resident Evil, even more so because of the over-the-shoulder camera. Releasing a combat specific trailer is a strange move for a psychological horror game like Silent Hill, but I guess that just means fewer spoilers and bigger surprises. But given Bloober Team's track record of spamming scary moments to the point that you stop caring, I'm just hoping they don't make enemy combat a constant chore, or maybe enemies popping up everywhere will be the scare tactic instead of creative psychological horror. At the end, it's just me being skeptical of Bloober Team and how they're gonna handle Silent Hill. And this trailer doesn't make things easier just yet. So let's see what they come up with in future trailers and see if the Silent Hill 2 remake is really going in a good direction. And then we get to some long-awaited gameplay for the new title, Phantom Zero. The teasers made Phantom Zero seem like a too-good-to-be-true action-heavy game with some Souls-like elements. But now with a full gameplay trailer with a deeper look at the combat, movement, and enemies, Phantom Zero is actually better than the teaser suggested. It actually feels like a very gamey game, taking us back to the good old days when a new game release made us curious and excited about getting our hands on this cool-looking game. There's a ton of amazing looking weapons that feel like they're based more off of Chinese weapons, which is great because by now people are pretty used to seeing European and Japanese weapons over and over again. Now I'll admit, Phantom Zero doesn't look like some new gen AAA game, but it's a well polished and detailed game with great environments and mobility and super creative enemy designs. We got to see one of the earlier bosses that uses some chain ball weapon, and you just know the developers love the finished product because we kept seeing the unique finisher where the boss beheads our character. And I'm loving the Berserk inspired Tiger Cannon. It's pretty rare to have such a devastating weapon available so easily, and it mixes up the careful combat with some easy chaos. There's a ton of cool looking weapons and even different types of cannons like a heavy flamethrower or a traditional AoE bomb. Phantom Zero seems to draw a lot from Sekiro combat, where it's not recycling everything. It has dodging mechanics and parrying and even a stagger system, but the combos, the timings, and the animations make things more exhilarating and fun, so you never really get bored or overwhelmed by all the various fights. It's still fun, it still makes you think a little bit, and it still looks amazing. Even though Souls-likes are getting a little repetitive, Sekiro combat seems to go well with everything, as long as it's used with a little bit of creativity. Jedi Fallen Order, Stellar Blade, and now Phantom Zero use the parry and stagger combat perfectly, and Phantom Zero still has some amazing story elements that we haven't heard enough about just yet. So let's see what Phantom Zero's story is like, and wait till we see more of the gameplay, more of the enemies, and more of the environments. So far, Phantom Zero is looking like a must-play. But then we have some more disappointing news. Assassin's Creed Shadows just gave us a new gameplay trailer, and as excited as I was for this game, I feel like I was proved wrong in everything I said about this game in my previous video. Earlier, I was expecting some high quality combat and stealth, and as long as they learn from Ghost of Tsushima, Assassin's Creed Shadows could be a great game in combat and stealth. But Ubisoft kept some of the worst traits of new-gen Assassin's Creed games and kept the least useful elements of Ghost of Tsushima. The UI still feels a bit bloated, but that's expected from most games these days. But seeing Yasuke's samurai gameplay, it looks like they straight up plagiarized the mechanics with the focus meter and even the parry indicator. But the combat itself looks like it's out of a superhero game, with slow, exaggerated movements and overall bad choreography. It's also super slow and almost turn-based, where one enemy comes at a time and attacks really slow and carefully, giving you more than enough time to just destroy them without thinking. Then when we see Naoe's stealth, it's still not the most interesting thing. There's still too many character highlights and enemy indicators that fill the screen and kind of take out the immersion, while all the overly stylish animations make this title look more like a mobile game. At the end of Naoe's trailer mission, she's immediately caught by guards, which is pretty much part of the mission, but it makes the stealth feel a little pointless. And even more so since Naoe has a wide, deadly range with her Chronos chain. So it ends up being kind of a mindless combat situation again. What was the point about the stealth if Naoe's combat makes things so easy? there's little advantage in picking either character, since Naoi's stealth and Yasuke's combat aren't that superior to each other. Both characters are equally capable of brute forcing their way through every situation, and the gameplay doesn't really push you to play smart if you don't want to. It just means the game is great for casual playing, but has no way of feeling like anything more than a mobile game in terms of thought, difficulty, or even details. But getting to the settings and characters, the characters talk a little too much, the settings are pretty basic, and after all I said about historical accuracy, Ubisoft somehow managed to disrespect several basic aspects of Japanese history and culture. Given how Assassin's Creed prides itself on history and culture, this kind of mistake might just assassinate the game's reputation. A lot of people also pointed out how the respectful samurai Yasuke is crushing people's head after they've given up. It's very un-samurai-like, and watching how the Japanese citizens are completely helpless and how Japanese samurais are basically evil, it kind of feels like they're putting the Yasuke on a pedestal just because of his skin color and reducing the social setting to just white and black the way it is in America, even though that's not really how the cultures worked in Japan. Assassin's Creed Shadows feels like it's pretending to be Ghost of Tsushima, but still trying to keep up with every trend from every modern game up to this day. I still don't know if this game will be terrible, but it can't keep any good expectations anymore, and that sucks because I really honestly thought we were gonna get a big comeback from Assassin's Creed. But let's just stick to Ubisoft for now, because it's not all bad news. Star Wars Outlaws is looking great despite everyone's concerns about development and how all of Ubisoft games feel so similar. Star Wars Outlaws puts you in the shoes of a simpler character with no crazy Jedi powers for once. I'm pretty sure you'll still get roped into saving the world in some way, but most of the game is pretty much an outer space Red Dead Redemption. It's got the whole bounty system, different gangs who all have a different level of respect for you based on your actions in the world, and there's some good old cover shooter combat similar to older games. In fact, a lot of people are comparing the combat to Gears of War, and I kinda see it. There's some decent space exploration and fighter jet combat, and when you get on the planet, you can roam around on your trusty bike. Exploration on land still stays close to the simpler Ubisoft ideas, like discovering waypoints and seeing through walls to mark enemies. But overall, it looks and feels like Red Dead Redemption with some Far Cry elements. The more localized story and setting lets players enjoy a deeper Star Wars lore, which is great for longtime fans. And it's an easy way to make an amazing plot and environments that no one has seen before. Kind of how I feel about Phantom Zero, Star Wars Outlaws brings back the feeling of older games without compromising on the details and high quality of modern technology. There are a lot more announcements too. An Alan Wake 2 DLC is coming up, which is based on Night Springs, the local thriller show based off the real-life show The Twilight Zone. Apparently, it's gonna let you once again play as Jesse, the protagonist from Control, which is a great little crossover, especially after the Alan Wake DLC in Control. There's a bunch of different mini-stories for several new characters as well, so it looks like a fun little spin-off taking advantage of the wacky nature of the Night Springs show. We also got some smaller reveals of games like Civilization 7, Black Ops 6, Doom: The Dark Ages, and Gears of War 6, all games that we've been waiting for but never knew they would really come. The only info we really have is about Doom, which looks like it's gonna be a little more similar to the OG Doom, and we have a bit of info on Black Ops 6, which is said to be around 300 GB on release. It sounds to me like that's gonna include some online Warzone kind of elements, or maybe it's just bad storage management. But I guess we'll see once we get some more information. There's too many amazing reveals with some new titles and a lot of sequels. It's great to get so much new information at this Summerfest and get a general update on what to expect throughout this year. We get a lot of exciting updates and some disappointing presentations too. But regardless, we're all still waiting for all these amazing games to release later in the year. So let's see what the final products look like. Well, that was a quick look at some of the new trailers and reveals at Summerfest. I'm sure there's a ton of games I haven't mentioned, so let me know which games caught your attention and what you want to hear about in future videos. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Until then, I hope I see you in the next video.